Damas y caballeros, chicos y chicas, niños de todas las edades, bienvenidos al Blower Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon, con el pensamiento correcto de un cerebro izquierdo, haciendo el trabajo que los American Media Maggots no hacen, operando detrás de las líneas enemigas de la California ocupada, en vivo y en directo, desde Estudio 23. De la vasta, rica, voluminosa y detestable SHR Media Network. Aquí está la mayor decepción de SHR, el Zeppelin Bloviating.
I love that.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Oh my, oh my. Oh. It's good to be back. It's only been 2 weeks since the show was down and we haven't had internet. And of course, in the intervening 2 weeks, absolutely nothing happened. Right? No. I can't tell you how happy I am to be sitting in this chair right now. It's like being on, it's like saying one time, you know, I picked a fuck of a day to quit heroin. Because doing this stuff can be sort of addictive, especially if you did it before in your formative years, so to speak. I can't tell you how good it is to be back. 2 weeks went like that. Click. Done. Oh, my goodness. All right, tell you what, let's get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. You got a belly up to the bar. We've kept you a seat, and it's great to see you back. Tonight, Kelly is going to be your bartendress tonight. She pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is in fact lighted to my left, your right. You can be listening on shrmedia.com. You can be watching on the SHR Media YouTube channel, and you can be watching on Facebook Live. Go to SHR Media on Facebook. So hey, 2 ways to watch, 1 way to listen, and also High Plains Media. Thanks, Dan, ever so much. And again, thanks to Dan for hosting Sackheads and myself while we were sort of on hiatus, if you will. Because that was very kind of him. It was a California show hosted over the internet, sent all the way over to Texas, and then sent back to California because we had to call in. How weird is that? It's pretty weird. Calling into your own damn show. That was really strange. In any event, I was noticing, we're going to go, we do have, in fact, some happy stories and some good times. Tonight, we're going to be talking about all sorts of ways in media that, all sorts of ways that the media, the Democrats and leftists are just damn insane. And they keep getting more so. I've got some very interesting stories for you. But it shouldn't shock you that these stories source from, where? Oh, that's right, occupied Fornicalia, as I call it, where we are broadcasting. I am broadcasting right now, just a mere maybe 2 miles from the belly of the beast, the Sacramento capital, the Bill Mill, leftist central on the left coast. It's like makes the hair stand up in the back of my neck to know that, I mean, literally leftist central in the United States, at least on the left coast, we're so damn close to it. Unsettling. But the 2 most crazy states are California, of course, and Virginia. So we're going to talk about some election results I'm tempted to do this first. It seems as though something has changed with Twitter. Now, whether it changed today, I really don't know. But I was looking at some of the tweets here, and I've got some on my phone, and it mostly has to do with the Virginia races, and I've got lots of things to tell you about that. And all of a sudden, I'm looking through this tweet, and here's one from Donald Trump, and it just goes on and on and on and on. And I kept thinking, wait a minute. During Twitter, did they just go from a 140 character limit to 280 or 240, whatever it was that they were going to go to? Did that happen today? Because here's Donald Trump on Twitter. We're going to get to it anyway. May as well start right here. You guys have a pretty good idea, I would guess already, of what happened in the Virginia race. Virginia now has gone massive, hard aport. It is blue as blue can be. So it shouldn't be surprising that Ed Gillespie didn't win in the governor's race there. It went to the guy on the left. Not shocking. The thing that's semi-shocking and should be at least a little bit unsettling to the Democrats and the leftists in Virginia is that this guy, Ed Gillespie, got so damn close. Despite the fact that you guys had a weird, fucked up commercial that points to anybody being a Republican or Caucasoid, all points in between. If you're not a leftist, you're a racist and any other ist. And that absolutely reprehensible commercial by the Latino something league in Virginia. And it played for all of one day because they finally took that down. But I was going to tell you about these. These are a couple of very salient tweets. I guess you would call them tweets. Here's one from Mark Pantano. And he's a political guy that's on Twitter quite a bit. And he says this, and I gotta say, dude, you're correct. True story of the Virginia race. Another establishment Republican pro-amnesty rhino lost a winnable race. Boo frickin' who? Okay. Ann Coulter says, I hope real Donald Trump notices that the votes of felons and immigrants have made Virginia a solid Democratic state. Folks, that's the point. That's why the Democrats, we've been saying it for quite some time, literally me for years. Immigrants, the left wants immigrants because they are a consistent, a reliable vote for the Democrats. From the GMM crowd, give me more, or GMMS crowd, give me more shit. And the GOP, the establishment hacks, don't mind them because, hey, that's where we get our free labor. And the rest of the Americans who are getting kicked out of jobs because their jobs are going away and being given to illegals who will work at a lesser wage rate. Great, woohoo. Good for the establishment hacks on the left and on the right. Now, here's the interesting tweet from Donald Trump. And after reading this, I went, whoa, that's where Twitter went. Because this looks to me like this is a heck of a lot more than 140 characters. And it's sitting here on my phone, and I'm thinking, okay, apparently that did change. Donald Trump, Ed Gillespie worked hard, but did not embrace me or what I stand for. Don't forget, Republicans won 4 out of 4 House seats, and with the economy doing record numbers, we will continue to win even bigger than before. Bingo. Or stop. Is that true? What do you think? Is it true that this guy Gillespie was basically what I call another establishment hack and had another race that perhaps he could have won, but decided that for whatever reason he was going to stick to his standard GOP smoke-filled room, establishment hack John McCain room, and continue doing that kind of stuff? And let's see. Here's CBSNews.com. 2017 gubernatorial election news, candidates, and polls. These are the results. Virginia's Democrat Governor-elect Ralph Northam picked up support among a large number of subgroups Tuesday night, especially among voters under 30, white women, moderates, and those with college degrees. Among white women and voters under 30, Democrats improved on their margins compared to 2013 by largely taking support from libertarian candidates. Interesting. Among white women voters, Gillespie was still the favored candidate over Northam, and the Democrat candidate brought the edge up to a 3-point margin. So I'm going to see if I can find it here. Northam did, in fact, win. But as I was discussing with someone over a semi-tweet war, which I don't really engage in all that much, but this guy said, Northam won Virginia, what he called it was bigly. And I sent back, you know what, I don't know if you could truly quantify 4 points or 5 points ahead as bigly. But here's the funny thing. And the GOP still doesn't get it. These races they could have if they would just run candidates who were actual conservatives. Because Democrats right now, in the public venue right now, Democrats are, we kicked some major GOP butt. Internally, if they're not, they should be saying to themselves, what the fuck? How did this guy Gillespie, that most everyone in Virginia, allegedly, according to the American Media Maggots, hates, how did Gillespie happen to get so damn close to Northam? We should have taken this election, literally, bigly. We should have been 50 points ahead. Does that sound like someone? That sound like someone to you? It certainly sounds like someone to me. So how are these Republicans in states? Now, Virginia, obviously, didn't go to Donald Trump a year ago. By the way, tomorrow is 1 year since the election. Because today is the 7th, the year of our Lord, 2017. And thank you again for listening. But it's been almost a year. Trump did not get Virginia. And this dude, Gillespie, the way they're quantifying him, he should not have been anywhere near as close as he was. That should have been of massive, and it should be now and in the future, of absolute massive concern to the Democrats. And I hope that they're taking, I'm going to do a show on this possibly next week. There's so much stuff to catch up on, too. It's almost ridiculous. As a matter of fact, I didn't even really get to finish my entire intro tonight, but that's okay. I thank you for being here. We have 2 stories. I have 2 stories tonight that do fall under this.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
And just how good are they? Well, there are 2 regarding fake news. And it's a happy story because more and more CNN gets called on the carpet for this. Oh, by the way, in chat, I'd like to say hello to Mary Brockman. I'd like to say hello to Whiskey Dale. Hello, aloha to both of you. And we have 2, one viewer. One viewer who, in this show, we do not unmask. The people who are here anonymously remain anonymous here in the chat room. If you want to go to shrmedia.com and listen, go to the chat room, click on the air, and you'll see the chat room, and boom, you can go in there. It doesn't cost you a thing. Go in there to the chat room and come in and chat and talk. Sit a spell in the saloon. Tell me what you're drinking, so to speak. Here's the first story. And this is like, no, it's not like Koigate. This is Koigate. Anti-Trump media makes up fake story about overfeeding fish at Japanese koi pond. You know, if you're going to do fake news, CNN, could you possibly do it about something more significant? This is why this is so incredibly fucked up. You pick the strangest damn things to hang your hats on and hills on which to die. Leftists, CNN, American Media Maggots. this is so bizarre. Why would you even want to do this? And then you're revealed for the biased tards that you are. And it keeps on going. So I'm going to reveal it to everybody else. President Trump and Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. So everybody knows that President Trump has been to Japan. He went to South Korea today. President Trump and Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe carried on an old tradition of feeding carp at a koi pond in Tokyo when CNN and the rest of the mainstream media maggots decided to twist the narrative to make a Trump appear like a buffoon. Liberal network CNN ran a ridiculous headline. You're going to love this. Trump feeds fish. Duh. Winds up pouring entire box of food into koi pond, complete with a misleading tweet from reporter Veronica Rocha that only shows the Trump dumping the entire box of food. Her footage is conveniently edited to skip Abe doing the same thing. Oh, anybody doubt that that's purposeful? In fact, Abe dumped his entire box of fish food into the pond, and Trump followed while the Prime Minister of Japan smiled. However, the anti-Trump American Media Maggots, CNN, has been cropping the video to only show Trump's actions. And then here's a tweet from Veronica Rocha, and it says, President Trump feeds fish with PM Shinzo Abe in Japan, then pours the entire box of food into the koi pond. Koigate. Folks, you heard it here first. That's Koigate. Then there was this from Breitbart.com. And the headline is, Very fake news. CNN selectively edits Trump quote on Japanese auto production in the U.S. And they're caught once again. Left-wing CNN has been caught red-handed selectively editing a Donald Trump quote as a means to make the president look foolish during his overseas trip to Japan. In its second piece of very fake news launched against Trump Monday morning, the first one is the one that I just read to you. CNN's snarky and dishonest headline reads, Trump asks Japan to build cars in the U.S. It already does. Well, okay, yes, it already does build vehicles in the United States. True. So in order to justify its headline here, CNN lies through omission by deliberately publishing only part of Trump's statement during a meeting with Japanese automakers yesterday. Try building your cars in the United States instead of shipping them over. Is that possible to ask? That's not rude. Is it rude? I don't think so. Is the only part of what Trump said that CNN bothers to quote. Okay, so CNN then points and laughs at Trump's ignorance with this deceptive fact check. Japanese automakers, however, already have huge factories in the U.S. that churn out millions of cars each year. But you see, in order to make sure that they carry their meme of slandering the president at every possible turn, in order to mock the president, fake news, CNN, decides that it's going to mislead its readers by not quoting Trump in full, a quote that very clearly shows the president is not only fully aware of that fact, the Japanese automakers make cars in America, but that he is grateful for them having done so. And the full quote is this. Only just a snippet, though, was revealed by CNN because it fits the meme. It's the agenda. The full quote, and we love it when you build cars. If you're a Japanese firm, we love it. Try building your cars in the United States instead of shipping them over. Is that possible to ask? That's not rude. Is that rude? I don't think so. If you could build them, but I must say, Toyota and Mazda, where are you? Are you here, anybody? Toyota, Mazda, I thought so. Oh, I thought that was you. That's big stuff. Congratulations. So he thanks them. Come on, let me shake your hand. There's a lot of applause then. They're going to invest $1.6 billion in building a new manufacturing plant, which will create as many as 4,000 new jobs in the United States. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And so there's fake news for you. And then CNN and all the other American media maggots continue to bleed readers. They continue to bleed advertising. Their newsroom folks are getting fired left and right, not because they're poor writers, which they are, but they're getting fired because they can't afford them anymore. And all of this shite is starting to catch up to everybody. Did you notice, and I think I said this on Dan Butcher's show, or on our show, which Dan Butcher was producing last week, ESPN, and just like the major American media maggots, ESPN is on the brink of deciding that it can no longer host Monday Night Football. Well, is that because the players are taking a knee? Of course not. They literally cannot afford Monday Night Football. Whoa, wait a minute. Why or how can or should that be? ESPN is this massive, this monster owned by Disney, and Disney is a mega beast. Why is ESPN, owned by Disney, not doing so well? Well, one of the reasons is they're losing 15,000 subscribers a week, including moi. Because in the intervening 2 weeks up at the old cabin in the Sierra Nevada mountains at the 4,000-foot elevation, because it's 90 miles that way from Sacramento, the belly of the beast, up in my Sierra Nevada area, up there, I decided, you know what? Blow me, Dish. I'm not paying for CNN anymore. I'm not paying for ESPN. I'm not paying for all of that stupid stuff. You're not going to give me a menu, and you're going to excoriate me. So you know what? You too can go to hell. Therefore, I'm one of those 15,000 people a week who just got rid of it. You know what I did? And I'm not getting a nickel from this. The funny thing, the weird thing is, this is really weird. My wife does not care for this at all. My internet up at the cabin up there in the middle of damn near nowhere. But boy, it's so beautiful. It rained like crazy a couple of nights ago, and it's going to rain when I go back up there on Friday. Up there, my internet connection is better than my wife's. Well, it sure as shit is a lot better than the one that we have in the studio here, and the service provider, who I will not name, because I'm not going to give them any props for anything whatsoever. So what did I do when I cut the cord? I decided that I was going to go with Hulu. And I don't mind saying that, because Hulu, I had a basic package with Dish, which had the local channels, which you're not supposed to get charged for, but I was getting charged for. And my package included Discovery, Travel Channel, History Channel, the kind of stuff that I like to watch. National Geographic. I didn't give a crap about ESPN. And you know who is not watching football this year? Old BZ. And I had, a basic package which consisted of HBO and no Cinemax and Showtime. And so that was basically the end, all of my premium channels. And I was paying $150 or $160 a month for that. Now, what I decided and why I didn't wake up a long time ago is beyond me. In any event, I got Hulu. And that's costing me $1.95 a week as compared to Dish. And then I thought, oh, you know what? If I do, because Hulu, by the way, if you didn't know, Hulu now has live TV. So there were certain episodic programs that you could get on Hulu, and some past series, etc. Hulu now does stuff live. So where am I getting Fox News now, for example? On Hulu. For pennies a month. And so I thought, well, being the big spender that I am, I'll just throw in Netflix there as well, because there's some things on Netflix that I happen to like. Well, what the hell? I could throw in, what's another one? I could throw in a couple more. Amazon TV, because I really like the series Bosch on Amazon. From the Michael Connelly books. If you're not watching Bosch, that is an extremely well done episodic series. So I can pick up those 3 right now. All I've got is Hulu, and I just recently picked up Netflix. And that is costing me a winky percentage of what I had under Dish. So ESPN's crying their tears. Oh, my God. And the New York Times is crying their tears. Oh, my God, this is so terrible. You did it to yourself. You did it to yourself with this kind of crap that you just keep doing. You don't get it. You may as well take the revolver and put it up to your own head, because the hammer's cocked. You got a nice 357 jacketed hollow point, top dead center, waiting to go. And you keep bleeding readers, viewers, and the people that actually gather the news are getting fired. And that's not just, it's not just in your newsrooms, because you don't get it. It's in your sports, because you don't get it. It's in the newspapers, because you don't get it. It's on your television, because you don't get it. How long are you going to... the NFL. We were talking about the NFL. Dan Butcher and I were speaking about the NFL. Also, Sackhead Sean, last week. The NFL still doesn't get it. I was looking at photographs of empty stadiums all around the nation last Sunday, 2 nights ago. I wasn't watching, but I looked at the articles with photos of the empty stadiums, and I'm thinking, that's a hell of a statement. Because you know that some of the people that don't have their butts in seats, some of those people are season ticket holders. And when it comes time next year, or whenever season ticket purchase is open, I wonder just how many people are going to continue to buy season tickets, because pretty soon they're just feeling a little bit of the pain right now, because sooner or later, the big dollars come from merchandising, of course. So they're losing concessions in their stadiums all across the United States. They're losing merchandise sales in their stadiums all across the United States. Well, they already have the cash from season ticket holders, so season ticket holders, the NFL couldn't give one fuck about you right now, because they got your money up front. When they're going to be concerned is if you decide that you're not going to go back again next year. The other thing that's going to have a massive impact on this is when they begin to negotiate TV contracts. Because if ESPN decides that it's going to eschew the NFL and do away with hosting Monday Night Football because they can't afford it, because people like Papa John's Pizza are pulling their advertising, because Papa John's now pulled their advertising saying, we're throwing dollars at the NFL and we're not getting any return. Why are we not getting any return? It's because people aren't watching the NFL anymore. People aren't attending NFL games like they used to anymore. And what's the first answer to that from NFL and the owners? The first answer is, well, it's a bad economy. Wrong. Bullshit. Because stocks are blown through the roof. More people are employed right now than a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We've got a 3% economy now, and that's growing. Barack Obama in 8 years never had 3%, never got to it. So that's wrong. That's not making any sense. It's because people with their discretionary cash are saying, you know what, NFL, and to a degree the NBA, but not as much as the NFL. They're saying, I watch you because I want to escape. I do not want to have my nose rubbed in politics. It's politics 24/7. I go to you to escape. Where do I go when I can no longer go to the NFL for escape? And I'm going to tell you When we come back after the break, I'm going to tell you why it is, how it is that the NFL is not, I honestly don't know if the NFL will ever come back. Because the NFL is, after all, no better than its gene pool. Folks, you're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. It's Tuesday, November the 7th, right here on the SHR Media Network. Please come back. Thanks for listening and watching. Thanks for being in the chat room. And thanks for listening in podcast. Don't go away.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Catholic, stupid.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
The Bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
You are listening to the SHR Media Network. And it's the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. And we're back. And I've got some interesting news. Not just this music. Because this is a little stinger that we found. And this is going to be played now in Sackheads on Wednesday. So I had to steal it and play it here first. I'm such a bastard by doing that. Everyone was saying, you know, there's no new Sackheads promo. What the hell happened to the new Sackheads promo? The Sackheads haven't had a promo in, I don't know, since 1975, at least. Well, guess what? There's a new Sackheads promo. And old Francois here did it, and it goes like this.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians, a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless, hope to the hopeless, clues to the clueless. Sackheads Sean, Sackheads Clint, and Sackheads BZ. The Sackheads Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern on shrmedia.com. Watch on YouTube, Facebook, and the High Plains Pundit Network. The best in late-night conservative talk. The Sackheads Radio Show, only on the SHR Media Network.
Go ahead, I'll say it again.
I like this. Some of the best A-roll is going to be B-roll.
Like, what are you talking about?
The last question really cut a couple seconds.
Yeah, I'm a freaking artist. I can't just come up with this shit off the top of my head. Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Good point. Exactly right. So for those of you who say that Sackheads, they haven't had a new promo in a long time, well, hey, there you go. There's the new promo. I just put it together. I just assembled it in Audacity this past weekend. If you assemble music stuff, Audacity is free, by the way, and it's got kind of a semi-steep learning curve. But even a techno-tard like me, in my 7th decade, for God's sake, if BZ can figure out how to make this shite work, also, if she's listening, love you, honey. I've also been given tutelage courtesy of my adoring wifely wife, who knows how to operate Audacity very well. So I'm giving props where props are due. Thank you, honey. She's the one that's been teaching me to use Audacity. So kudos to her. And I can learn some of this stuff. We were talking about leftists. We were talking about the NFL. And I was saying, here's one point. The NFL is saying, well, you know, the economy is bad, and that's why it's down. And by the way, we're saturated in the markets, and that's why we're going down. And it's the sunspots. It's the sunspots. That's another reason that the ratings are going down. And title pull. It's title pull. That's another reason. No. Note to the NFL, your ratings suck. And people are leaving because they despise you for bringing politics and allowing your employees to bring politics onto the field when they're not there for politics. They're there for entertainment. And all those players exist, but for one reason, entertainment. You are paid actors. Now, they compared working in the NFL like slaves. They're slaves. Well, I guess then the rest of the people in the United States, nay, the world, we, they, us, must be slaves too, because we're providing work for cash, just like you guys are. Except you get paid a hell of a lot more than damn near anybody else I can think of. And certainly you guys make a hell of a lot more than the President of the United States. Oh, that's right. Who isn't taking any money? The current President of the United States is not taking any money from the federal government. He's not accepting any pay. Funny how that works out. Now in chat, I think it was Whiskey Dale who said that NASCAR, or Mary, I'm sorry, I don't have chat on right now. But one of the two in chat said, oh, by the way, NASCAR's not doing real well either. And I find that a little bit odd. But that considered, the NFL might want to take a peek and do the comparison to, let's say, MLB. Because Major League Baseball had some of its greatest attendance this year. More people watched the World Series, so that attendance and butts in seats in the ballpark has not gone down. So, NFL, what do you think, and they don't want to admit, but the true difference between your loss of customers is because you're catering to your employees and allowing them to sink you. One day you may get it. I suspect you're not quite going to get it, because here's the other aspect of it. The NFL and the players are embracing the left when it's the left that wants to make sure that the NFL is in fact shot in the head. Because the other aspect of that is, where do you get your future, NFL? Oh, that's right. In high school, in middle school, in colleges. And what's going on now? They're finding that it's more difficult to get young boys into football because the leftists are saying, I don't want my children involved in that. They're not going to play football in high school. And I don't want my kids playing college ball. So pretty soon, NFL, your gene pool is going to dry up. So you either change your evil ways, NFL, or like me, I have not watched one NFL game in a year and 3 quarters. After Colin Kaepernick started doing that last year and it started moving around, I said, screw it, I'm done. Then when they continued to do it this year and it really caught on societally, because there was so much to protest, right? Hands up, don't shoot. Oh, that's so truthful. So, yeah, NFL, you can go to hell. Leftists, gotta love them, can't support them, won't do it. Wouldn't be prudent. Here's another wacky story. I told you that I'm going to have stories about the left. This just came out today. This is from the Sacramento Bee, which is the leftist newspaper, which I use for... Okay, all right. I'm going to give it up. I gave it up in the very first show that I did. I used to work for the Sacramento Bee years ago. And that all fell under the aegis of McClatchy Broadcasting and McClatchy Newspapers. At the time, McClatchy, who was running it, Eleanor McClatchy, from the family of McClatchys, they used to be in a big building at 21st and Q, which used to be the old Buffalo Brewery, Buffalo Beer Brewery, in the early 1900s. Well, that's where the Sacramento Bee used to be produced, at 21st and Q. They ended up taking over an entire block. The newspaper was there. It used to be cool to really see these railroad cars coming in with massive rolls of newsprint. And I went in to go look at the press when it was kicking out the evening paper. We used to have 2 papers, as a matter of fact, years ago. The Sacramento Union, the one in which Mark Twain used to write, that's dead and gone because that leaned to the right. In this town, oh, that's a death knell. Well, okay, it's dead because this is a government town, and it's a left-leaning town. So the Sacramento Union, gone. That was the morning paper. The Sacramento Bee is the evening paper, and while I was there, I used to work for KFBK Broadcasting in the 70s, and that's where I got my start in radio. That's where I got my start in journalism. And from there, I used to work as a stringer for the Sacramento Bee. I used to take photographs and whatnot. And then I also used to do some stuff for KOVR TV. Long time ago. But the Sacramento Bee, now, that having been said, that's where this story comes from today. You're going to love this. You're going to love it. Guaranteed. The headline from SacB.com. Remove the Star-Spangled Banner as national anthem. California NAACP urges. Just came out today. Well, all the leftists around here are going to be embracing that. What do you bet? When California lawmakers return to the Capitol in January, the state chapter of the NAACP will be seeking their support for a campaign to remove the Star-Spangled Banner as the national anthem. The organization last week began circulating among legislative offices 2 resolutions that passed at its state conference in October, one urging Congress to rescind one of the most racist, pro-slavery, anti-black songs in the American lexicon as the national anthem, and another in support of former San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick, who launched a protest movement against police brutality among professional athletes by kneeling when the Star-Spangled Banner was played before games. Do you see the nexus here, folks? I do. Oh, this is great. This also, you're going to love this. My wife likes to go to thrift shops. In Spanish, because my wife is Mexican. She's going to kill me for saying that, but okay, that's what it is. So, yeah, I hate everybody. You know me. I hate everybody but Caucasoids. But my wife goes to thrift shops, which in Spanish are called segundas. Now, she goes to segundas because she's gotten some stellar deals every once in a while, the likes of which I will not regale to you because there are a couple in Sacramento that are actually fairly decent. We got an iPad. We got a Dyson vacuum cleaner and a whole bunch of other stuff for like pennies on the dollar, literally, because I don't think these people knew what they had. So, you know me, I'm going to take advantage of that. And so did my wife, as a matter of fact. But in any event, at a Segunda very recently, this past week, she came back and said, you know what I saw? She's not as politically interested as I am, but I have taken her from a little bitty palm kitty She was a registered Democrat, by the way, at one point when we first began dating. Now she's a registered Republican. So I raised her from a little palm kitty. And now she's a full-blown conservative. With that in mind, she came back last week and said, I got to tell you, with all the crap that's going on in the NFL, I got to tell you what I saw in the Segunda. And I had to ask the person there, and I asked them, how long is that thing that's attached to that wall right there, how long has that been sitting there? And the person said, well, as far as I know, at least a month. It only came in about a month ago, but nobody's looking at it, nobody's buying it. Well, what am I talking about? It was a Colin Kaepernick jersey under a mount, a piece of it. Now, obviously, it wasn't real, I don't believe. But because it had that name on it, it was just sitting there. And it was originally tagged at about, I think it was $70. X. 50. X. 10. X. And it's still sitting there. I think you see the point that I'm trying to make. The kneeling protests have drawn attention to an infrequently sung third verse from the Star-Spangled Banner, which includes this passage, this heinous passage. Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight to the gloom of the grave. Some interpretations of the lyrics conclude that they celebrate the deaths of black American slaves who joined the British troops during the War of 1812 to gain the freedom. Francis Scott Key, who wrote the lyrics of the Star-Spangled Banner, was a slave owner and fierce opponent of abolition, who may have sparked the first race riot in Washington, D.C. Consider the source, sacb.com. But because of that, and because of the NFL, and because of Colin Kaepernick, the NAACP, who firmly believes in hands up, don't shoot, has decided that they are petitioning to get the Star-Spangled Banner removed as the national anthem. So trust me, if this is starting in California, it's moving probably to your state as well. But wait, there's more. Leftists. Now, we were talking earlier at the beginning of the show about Virginia. And Virginia's governor, I think it's Terry McAuliffe. He's only going to be governor just for a little bit more because this new guy, Northam, just became governor. Here's a story from themaven.com. Oh, you're going to love this. And you thought that wacky leftist crap was only on the left coast? Oh, no. Oh, no. The headline to this is, after governor restores felons' rights, felon running for office wants to legalize child pornography. What? I guess you could say that you didn't see this coming at all, did you? No? Right? No, didn't see that coming. Nathan Larson is running for Virginia's House of Delegates after his voting rights were restored and believes that child pornography should be legalized. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe restored voting rights to thousands of felons in an order that took effect in January 2017, earlier this year. The order not only restored voting rights for felons, but allowed them to run for office. One such felon, Nathan Larson, is running for Virginia's 31st House of Delegates as a libertarian. Libertarians, if you embrace him, if you took him, you should be ashamed. Now, this is interesting. I was not able to do this before I got here because not all the results were in. So I do not know if this guy, Nathan Larson, actually won. I suspect not, but I can't even say that. If anybody in chat wants to go choose your favorite search engine and figure out whether Nathan Larson, Larson, won in Virginia, go ahead and do that. I honestly don't know. So, shame on you libertarians for taking this piece of crap. Larson announced his candidacy in February, according to the Times newspaper. And according to Virginia Code, candidates only have to be registered voters to run for office. In 2009, Larson Check this out. You are so going to love this. In 2009, Larson pleaded guilty to threatening to kill the President of the United States, who at the time was Barack Hussein Obama. And yet, despite that, under the guise of libertarian, he's running for office, threatening to kill a leftist. But I guess because of that little funny thing with threatening to kill the President of the United States, who at the time was Barack Hussein Obama, that might not really have played particularly lovingly with Democrats. So, he's a felon. He wasn't certainly going to go over to the GOP. I guess they figured that the libertarians would take him in under the guise of what the hell, or whatever rationale they used for that. The charge resulted from an investigation into emails that he sent to the Secret Service. He sent, how daft is this? It's not like he sent them out in a tweet because he was drunk tweeting one day. Jesus. No. What he does is he decides that in his infinite wisdom, the charges result from an investigation into emails that he sent to the Secret Service. He doesn't just send them to his local newspaper. No, he decides that he's going to send them, those emails, to the people that investigate threats to the President of the United States. And if this moron got any votes for using this kind of just incredibly brain-glazingly, stultifyingly, ridiculously stupid logic, and you think that this guy is going to make good decisions because he's such a good decision maker in the first place, and you voted for that piece of trash? Boy, do you guys get what you deserve. Virginia, you sure as shit get what you deserve. In 2008, December 2008, he wrote, "I am writing to inform you that in the near future I will kill the President of the United States of America." Well, that's not really very equivocal, is it? To me, that sounds rather pointed. So at least one good thing about this guy, he doesn't beat around the political bush. He tells you, like Islam, he tells you exactly what it is that he means to do. Members of the Secret Service flew to Colorado to interview Larson, who was living in Boulder at the time. He told the agents that he stood by what he'd written. And he ran for political office. He stood by what he'd written, and that, quote, he was serious about carrying out his threat, unquote. He did not carry out his threat, but he was arrested and convicted in 2009. He served 16 months in federal prison and remained on probation for 3 years. After that, after he got out, he went to Virginia, and the rest is history. There's highfalutin, high, stylish thinking for you right there. I would love to find out if this guy got more than one vote. And if he got any votes at all, was it from like a four-legged, crazed Albanian dwarf who is illegal and has one leg, and they call him monopod, and his name is Jeff? Other than that, the crazed Albanian dwarf vote, who else voted for that guy? Wacky. Absolutely wacky. Oh, wait. I'm in chat now. Okay, here we go. I'm in chat. Mary Brockman writes, Larson won. Let that soak in for a while into your fetid, squirming little brains. This is the future of Virginia. A person who, I don't know if he's a pederast, but certainly advocates pederasty, the exact same thing that I fought against when I was a detective in child abuse. He's an advocate of that. Who knows? He may be a member of NAMBLA. The boss. Thank you for being in here, boss. I see Mike. Thank you for being in chat. I see the boss. Larson got 421 votes. District, what does it say? 31 or 21. I don't know my glasses. 100% of precincts reporting. Nathan Larson. 471 or 421 votes. So Mary Brockman said Larson won. Do you not find that brain glazing? Absolutely brain glazing. This is your country on stupidity. This is where your country is going. Okay, that's enough of that. Now let's go to the rest of the planet. People have said recently that they have not seen Real Kim in North Korea in quite some time. And people have said that he hasn't made a public appearance in quite some time. And people that are in Pyongyang, which is the capital of North Korea, are saying that there's almost nobody on the streets these days. And it's kind of like a ghost town. Here's a story from the UK Express. And the headline is, North Korea Civil War. Kim scrambles to avoid uprising as family monuments targeted. And I have to tell you, I have not heard much of this at all. North Korea could be on the brink of civil war as furious locals target memorials and monuments glorifying the bloody Kim dynasty as anger grows over poor living standards. Literally, there is a physical difference in stature, size, and weight of the average North Korean, not sustained to the average South Korean, who, in terms of stature and weight, they're physically bigger because they have a nutritious diet, and the people in North Korea do not, literally. North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, has ordered an increase in security at such sites to stop more hostile elements deface the statues and murals. But I'm going to play just a little bit of this. We only got a couple of more minutes before the top of the hour break. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon here on the SHR Media Network. Thank you for listening live. Thank you for interacting in chat and listening in podcast. But I've got to listen. I've got to let you hear the kind of leftist thinking that passes for news in Britain, for example.
So you're defending a tyrannical, dictatorial regime?
No, I'm not defending a tyrannical, dictatorial regime.
Okay, they're talking about North Korea. This is a British news organization, and the guy is trying to do his level best to support North Korea and Kim Jong-un.
Would you describe
this is demonization.
In what way? Oh, sorry.
And I strongly disagree with your introduction.
Why is it demonization? Which bit is incorrect? I mean, a 2014 United Nations Commission of Inquiry report on human rights in North Korea stated that systematic, widespread and gross human rights violations committed by the government included murder, enslavement, torture, imprisonment, rape, forced abortion and other sexual violence.
Now listen to his reply. Listen to his reply. It's as if he says, oh, that's nothing.
Is that demonization?
Well, that commission of inquiry...
Oh, deflect.
Which consisted, which was headed by people very sympathetic to the US.
Right,
never actually set foot in the DPRK even once.
Yeah, because the People's Republic, the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea, won't let you in. Dude, that's why it's called, for example, the Hermit Kingdom. Ever think about that? Well, apparently they don't much think about that. It's the top of the hour. We're going to go to a break. Thank you ever so kindly for allowing me into your homes, onto your confusers, onto your tablets, your computers, your iPads, the sides of your face, your ossicles, because in your ossicles we hear this cry of glory. It's the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, live and direct from the studio that actually has internet once again, just a couple of miles from the belly of the beast, the Bill Mill in occupied California, where I'm broadcasting behind enemy lines. We'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads radio show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Mim from Freedom Fest, the world's largest gathering of free minds. Join your friends from SHR Media at the beautiful Paris Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada, July 19th through the 22nd for 3 amazing days of liberty-oriented discussion, investment advice, and the Anthem Film Festival. It's our big 10th anniversary, featuring keynote speaker William Shatner and Freedom Fest favorites, including Steve Forbes, Jim Rogers, Lee Edwards, David Boaz, Doug Casey, Dinesh D'Souza, John Stossel, Lisa Kennedy, Grover Norquist, Peter Schiff, and many more. Don't miss out. Register at freedomfest.com for $100 off the regular registration rate when you use the all-caps code SHR Media.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, boy, did I boot the crap out of that one. And I have to take complete honest. I'm honest. I booted that. The truth is Larson lost. And Larson lost, to quote somebody that was on the left that I quoted myself earlier, he lost bigly. Larson lost big time, Whiskey Dill said. So I have to correct myself. Thank you for telling me that so that I can correct myself here on the air. So I booted the hell out of that. My apologies. I have glasses right here. See? Reading glasses. I don't normally need these, but looking over here where all my stuff is displayed over on the right, I thought I was reading the proper thing, and I didn't have these on, so, okay, there's my Democrat reason, excuse, right there. My goodness. So, okay, he didn't win. Thank God there is some sanity left. Not much. The only sanity that's left seems to be in Middle America because it doesn't occur on the left coast, and it surely doesn't seem to be occurring on the right coast as well. What do we know about the shootings that occurred recently on Sunday in Texas? We know that there are facts and that there's hatred. Now, I could go into the whole story about what happened. Everybody who has been listening to the news, it occurred on Sunday. There was a shooting. 26 people were killed in Sutherland Springs, Texas, at a church. It turns out that this was pretty much personal, as I suspected that it was going to be. And so I have to be honest, in the process, I thought the story was certainly the motivation behind that, but there's a story behind the story. So on the heels of that shooting at that First Baptist Church there in Sutherland Springs, as I mentioned, Democrats, leftists, the American Media Maggots, they came out in full force. And they started barking sharply about firearms, gun deaths, white people, and, it's all SLF. That's standard leftist fare. Here's a tweet by Mike Thompson, Representative Mike Thompson. Sickened by yet another mass shooting, leaving people dead and injured. Enough. Congress must muster the courage to help prevent gun violence. Where? Elizabeth Warren. How many kids must die of gun violence on playgrounds and streets every day with no attention at all before we wake up to what's happening? That's one tweet. Second tweet. Thoughts and prayers are not enough, GOP. We must end this violence. We must stop these tragedies. People are dying while you wait. Now, isn't this a bit incongruous? And I throw the word irony in there. There's just a bit of irony. Let's go back to the first tweet from Elizabeth Warren, because she said, how many kids must die of gun violence on playgrounds and streets every day with no attention at all before we wake up to what's happening? She's worried about the lives of kids because of guns. Elizabeth Warren, focus that hate and discontent inwards. What happens to the hundreds and thousands of babies who didn't get a chance to be kids, who were aborted before they didn't get a chance to be kids, they didn't get a chance to be born? Now, you don't hear me talk about abortion that much. I mostly keep this to myself, but when I see incredible hypocrisy like this, I'm going to point it out. You don't give a crap about children, Elizabeth Warren, just like leftists don't give a crap about blacks. I've talked about that before, and that's a story for another day. But do you see the incredible hypocrisy of that tweet? That is faux concern. Truly, she couldn't give a crap about those kids. I'm writing a post tomorrow about gun confiscation, and I'll be talking about that on Thursday. Because if you don't think that's in the future, folks, I have a number of incidents to illustrate to you about that. Well, those are just the first two tweets about how the leftists are so terribly upset about gun violence, and they're concerned about kids, and they hate the fact that anyone with any religious affiliation at all is saying, they're turning it around and saying that thoughts and prayers. If you write thoughts and prayers, if you utter that phrase, you must be a moron. Moreover, you're going to be a right-wing beer guzzling pickup truck riding moron with a Confederate flag on your pickup truck. Because that's exactly what she thinks. Richard Blumenthal, horror, heartbreak, shame. Prayers are important but insufficient. After another unspeakable tragedy, Congress must act or be complicit. Yeah, these are tweets that are going out, by the way, before the blood has even cooled in the pews. It's a perfect talking point, and I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was a leftist Democrat who said, never let a crisis go to waste. Well, there's another crisis, and it's certainly not going to waste, is it? Richard Blumenthal, enough is enough. Now is the time for common sense gun violence prevention steps. Congressional complicity must end. Kamala Harris, our new senator who replaced Barbara Boxer, huzzah, huzzah, who came from San Francisco as district attorney and who refused as district attorney of San Francisco to prosecute an individual under the death penalty because he killed a cop in San Francisco. No, there will be no death penalty cases under Kamala Harris. She wrote, senseless gun violence has torn apart another community, this time in a house of worship. She didn't give a crap about a house of worship. That's just taking advantage of it because she's a leftist. The last time she stepped into a house of worship was, I think, probably when she watched one on TV in some episodic TV series. When do we say enough is enough? So there we go. Then Senator Dick Durbin weighs in. The shooter turned his gun on people, kids, in a place of worship. America is in the grips of a gun violence crisis. Congress must act. Senator Bob Casey. I'm thinking of and praying for all those impacted by the shooting in Texas. Senator Bob Casey. In addition to offering my prayers and thoughts, I also believe Congress must take action on gun violence. So then they began to excoriate, right? Those people who were sending prayers, and did certain personnel in my comment section take advantage of that? Well, yes, they did. I don't think I'm going to be letting this guy through because he wrote typical leftist pap, and that quote was this: what is needed clearly are more prayers and no gun restrictions. Oh, and thoughts. Thoughts and prayers. Yep, that will do it. No sarcasm there. Time.com wrote, Democratic leaders and gun control advocates shut down the immediate and familiar outpouring of, quote, thoughts and prayers for the victims of the South Texas church shooting on Sunday, calling for stronger gun control. Hey, you know what, Time magazine, represent, dudes. You're representing. Outstanding. Bodies cooling, not quite cold yet. Way to go, Time. Because, you know what, thoughts and prayers refer to religious people, and everybody knows that religious people are stupid, and they're caucasoid, and they're ill-educated, and like I said, they drive around in their Ford FX4 off-road pickup trucks, and they have loud motors and damaged exhaust pipes, right? They fly Confederate flags and Confederate banners and Ed Gillespie bumper stickers on them, too. And they have Gadsden flag front license plates. And they're looking to run down little Muslim kids and children with a higher melanin count. Hey, race baiting, does that sound like anything that you've listened to recently? Did you happen to watch this ad from the Latino Victory Fund? This is an ad excoriating Ed Gillespie in Virginia. And if you haven't seen this, I'm going to play it for you because you can still get a lot of it audioly, in terms of audio out of it. Here's a kid running. There's a Confederate flag flying on a pickup truck. And he's a white guy. And this little Hispanic kid is breathing. And he sees a little black kid playing basketball. Here comes the truck. Run! Run! Oh, bad exhaust. They're running.
Run, run, run!
Run! It's a little Muslim girl in a hijab. They're running down the street. Dramatic music. Come on. There comes the Ford with the Gadsden flag on the front. And the kids are trapped. They're trapped. It's a dream.
Is this what Donald Trump and Ed Gillespie mean by the American dream? Latino Victory Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
Yeah, there you go. See, it's all you ignorant Southerners with your easily mocked and stupid drawl like, well, Bill Clinton. Well, wait, no, not Bill Clinton. No, that's not what you meant, right? And then Speaker Ryan wrote something on Twitter, and he wrote this: reports out of Texas are devastating. The people of Sutherland Springs need our prayers right now. And so what did he get in return? Well, he got this loving retort from the highly paid and relevant actor extraordinaire Will Wheaton, who used to be the kid in Star Trek. And Will Wheaton tweeted out, the murdered victims were in a church. If prayers did anything, they'd still be alive, you worthless sack of shit. Directed to Paul Ryan. And so how about these social media responses as well? Representative Pramelia Jayapal. They were praying when it happened. They don't need our prayers. They need us to address gun violence crisis and pass sensible regulation. John Pavlovitz. If you pray for victims of gun violence while doing nothing else, your prayers may as well be bullets for the next mass shooting. Oh, good. That's good to know. Good to think of. Paula Poundstone, the comedian, loosely, comedian. Dear President Trump and VP Pence, if prayers were the answer to gun violence, wouldn't people at a church service be safe? Please make gun laws. And let us not forget that profound and highly insightful Teutonic Keith Olbermann, mein Führer. He wrote, Speaker Ryan bluntly, shove your prayers up your ass and do something with your life besides platitudes and power grabs. Because, you know, that's never happened on the left before, has it? Of course not. The embracing, kind, inclusive, and understanding Chelsea Handler, right? She says, tweeted, innocent people go to church on Sunday to honor their God, and while doing so, get shot and killed. What country, America? Why? Republicans. Number one, Chelsea Handler is an atheist. Number two, she couldn't give a shit about God. And so this is another political ploy from leftists because it's perfect timing and it's all about gun control and what's the bottom line. Well, you know what the bottom line is. Here's a person recently who got a Fox show back again, and I have to agree with just about everything that she says in this piece. This is Laura Ingraham.
Elite hostility to people of faith. That's the subject of tonight's angle. In the aftermath of the church massacre in Texas, all of us were outraged and heartbroken. Across social media, politicians and concerned Americans everywhere remembered the victims and offered the grieving families of Sutherland Springs their thoughts and prayers. But almost immediately, celebrities and certain media types rushed to ridicule and demean that religious sentiment. Actor Michael McKean, in a tweet, wrote, "They were in church. They had the prayer shot right out of them. Maybe try something else." Stephen King, whose Dark Tower series features a gunslinger, he tweeted, "Enough with praying. Time to start legislating." The hostility to faith infects the popular culture. There is militant secularism moving throughout the country that not only disparages people of faith, but targets them because of it.
Militant secularism. That's a great phrase. I got to go with that because in my mind that is perfectly applicable.
Entertainment and media elites caricature people like those in that church in Sutherland Springs as intolerant, backwood yahoos, and Bible thumpers, when they're actually among the best of America.
Thank you.
They may not be the fancy people out on the red carpets or in the gym with their personal trainers.
No, the elite.
But when the chips are down and help is needed, they'll put their own lives on the line, pick up a long gun if needed.
Thank you.
And go save their neighbors.
Bingo.
If you pay close attention, these elites are not only trying to politicize this tragedy, but they're disparaging the faith of the people killed in those pews. Actor Will Wheaton, responding to Speaker Paul Ryan's call for prayer, he wrote, "The murdered victims were in a church. If prayers did anything, they'd still be alive. You worthless sack of..." So prayer is incapable of doing anything. What, if they were having brunch at the Peninsula Hotel with their managers, they might still be here?
By the way, don't know if you know this or not, Laura Ingraham wears a nice cross on her dress whenever she's on the air. I don't know if you know anything about Laura Ingraham. Laura Ingraham lost all of her hair. Laura Ingraham got cancer. Laura Ingraham almost died. She came back after treatment, and she's here today with real hair. So she knows what it's like to face death. And I think that's where a great deal of her faith comes from. My guess would be she was probably praying during that time. I know I was when I had cancer, and it's in remission right now.
Is that your point, Will? No wonder he spells his name with only one L. It's William, 2 L's. The intolerance of religion, it's penetrated every corner of the culture. When esteemed Notre Dame law professor Amy Barrett was nominated to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, she was grilled by Democratic senators, not really for her legal reasoning, not so much, but for her Catholic faith. Dick Durbin asked if she considered herself an Orthodox Catholic. He didn't mention that she has 7 children, but he might as well have. Senator Dianne Feinstein went even further. She suggested that, quote, "the dogma lives loudly within you, and that's a concern." Can you imagine either of those senators trying that on a Muslim?
So that's going to be a benchmark in the future, guaranteed, right? There was a story, by the way, that is kind of aligned with this that I heard today. I don't quite remember the exact situation. Maybe some people in chat will. But I think it was a guy that was taking an interview for an anesthetologist, something like that, some kind of a medical-oriented job. And they asked him, "What informs your morality?" And he said 2 words, my faith. Guess who didn't get the job?
Court nominee? No, they wouldn't. Despite the religious hazing, Barrett was confirmed last week. Good.
Cool.
This is an intimidation campaign that has been tried and tried again, even on yours truly. I didn't even know about this, by the way, until a few days ago, but following the debut of this show last week, a bright light at something called theobserver.com dubbed me the church lady. Church lady was pretty funny, by the way, because I, quote, appeared before the audience in purple vestments, that's a dress, by the way, that highlighted the gleaming gold cross on my chest. Here it is. It's really powerful. As expected, the cross-hating author is a former New York Times employee.
I don't have one.
And a segment producer for Keith Olbermann.
Oh, no.
Last week, a high school football coach in Georgia was told that he can't participate in any student-initiated or student-led prayer before or after or during a football game. So he can't pray at all in his official capacity as a coach. The Coweta County School Board directive came only after the Freedom from Religion Foundation.
Not freedom of religion, freedom from religion. Please, please note the massive, massive difference in just one word.
Filed a complaint. You see, the atheists aren't happy unless they're trampling on another person's religious liberty. We'd better be very careful. Remember, the Declaration of Independence, ever heard of it? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights.
Stop, 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 stop. Rights don't come from God. Rights come from government, which is why leftists are trying to completely eliminate God and making sure that government has a stranglehold on your rights, because this is what government does. It will steal your rights when it can, when you allow it to, and then it'll sell your rights back to you at an exorbitant price, personal and fiscally.
Among them, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our natural rights are not dependent on the government, but on God. That is what undergirds this country and, frankly, what sustains us. And for those of you who don't agree, you're in my thoughts and prayers. Get over it. That's the angle.
Nicely done. Nicely. Because in that football situation with that coach, what do you think would happen? Let me just throw this out there. I know you know the answer, but I'm going to say it anyway. What do you think would happen if that particular football coach was, say, a Muslim, and then he decided that he had to pray at the beginning of every game, or in the middle of a game, or at the end of a game, because you got to pray 5 times towards Mecca every day. And he wanted to pull out his rug and genuflect towards Mecca. And what do you think the people in any school district facing that situation with the coach would do? I think you have a pretty good idea. Of course, as we all know, it's only Caucasoids who are mass murderers, right? All you have to do is ask Ruben Navarrete. This is Ruben Navarrete and Tucker Carlson chatting, shall we say. Uh-oh, it says this video is unavailable. There's a very... Oh, that's interesting. Now, here's another point. Thank you, YouTube, for making my point. This was available yesterday. And now, because of the situation, YouTube has decided that it's going to take this down. Basically, Ruben Navarrete was talking to Tucker Carlson and saying it's white men that are mass murderers. And by the way, you know what we need to start doing, Tucker? I played this for you, as a matter of fact. I wanted to replay it, but no, YouTube pulled it out by its little roots because it's a perfect illustration. But Ruben Navarrete was talking to Tucker Carlson. He said, you know what we also need to do? We need to profile white men. Except for there's one bad thing that I discovered if you do a little bit of investigation and a little bit of looking, which is odd because, you know, if you get onto your favorite search engine, there's this funky thing called an internet. Now, we at SHR are not intimately familiar with an internet around here. We're starting to get back into the thick of things, so to speak. For a couple of weeks, that internet thing was, we're not, what the hell's that? We're not sure. Anyway, get onto your favorite search engine and do maybe a little bit of investigation, which apparently Ruben Navarrete failed to do. I wish Tucker Carlson had been armed with this information because I found 2 stories from sources I would never have expected them from. And they said this, the first story, it's about those damnable facts. Tucker, for whatever reason, he didn't have access to those facts. Maybe he had a bad producer that day, he had bad gas, whatever. But I found a story from Slate.com, which is not what you would call a bastion of right-wing buttery political goodness. But even Slate.com has this article, and the headline says, "Mass shooters aren't disproportionately white." Wow. Let me see if I can play that again, or say that again. This is an article that says from Slate.com that says mass shooters are not necessarily white. Are you kidding me? And no, I'm not. Where the myth comes from and what it gets right and wrong about the demographics of mass shootings. Stephen Paddock shot more than 500 people from the windows of his Las Vegas hotel room a couple of weeks ago, killing 58 of them. In the days since, a familiar story has been passed around the internet about the blinkered way in which we talk about these sorts of massacres. We're so quick to blame Islamic terrorists, the story goes, that we don't address the stark, distressing truth about mass shootings. The killers aren't angry immigrants, by and large. They're white men. Right? Of course they are. Ask any leftist, ask any American Media Maggot, ask any Democrat, or ask Ruben Navarrete. Because after all, he says, white men need to be profiled because they're probably all mass killers at heart. Aren't they? Well, you know they are, of course. They're all mass killers at heart. These shooters are almost exclusively coming from a single socioeconomic class and racial group, wrote actor Cole Sprouse in a widely shared Twitter thread. We must now address what part of whiteness influences this kind of petri dish for gun violence and killing. Because after all, you know, actors, they are particularly insightful and full of professional knowledge, aren't they? That's why they're actors. That's why we trust them. That's why they weigh in so frequently, because they are so trustable. You know, actors and producers like Weinstein and... Oh, I'm sorry. I should not have gone there. My apologies. This wasn't just a social media phenomenon. The Huffington Post published Sprouse's tweets as a powerful take on whiteness and mass shootings. An article in Elle called the link between white men and mass shootings a general rule and proposed that our refusal to confront toxic white male violence is why this problem will metastasize. The progressive news site Think Progress said that when we talk about mass shootings, we're talking about white men. Newsweek wondered if white men commit mass shootings out of a sense of entitlement. Well, that's why you do that. A CNN opinion piece bemoaned the fact that America has silently accepted the rage of white men. In a narrow sense, these stories are correct. The plurality of mass killers are white, but the notion that white men of privilege are disproportionately representative among mass shooters, indeed, that they make up nearly all of them, is a myth. Oh, myth? Can I have another cup of coffee, please? Please, myth? What these initial Mother Jones numbers showed, though, from that magazine, was white people weren't overrepresented among mass shooters. The media outlet had found that roughly 70% of the shooters in mass killings were white, certainly a majority, but according to a Census Bureau estimates for 2012, whites accounted for 73.9% of all Americans. Keep in mind that the definition of whiteness is both vague and forever changing. In the 2010 census, the white category includes those whose families originated in Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. Mother Jones, for its part, categorizes one Moroccan immigrant killer as white. Isn't that funny how that works out? And it leaves the race field blank for a Turkish immigrant and describes several shooters of Pakistani, Palestinian, Afghan, and Kuwaiti extrusion as other. Isn't that funny how that all works out? Just funny, ha-ha, is it not? Folks, this is the last segment. Thank you for staying with me. You've been listening to you're continuing to listen, I hope, to the Berserk Bobcat Saloon here on the SHR Media Network. A brief break, and then we'll be right back. Thank you.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads radio show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American Media Maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reverb Common Sense, and you're listening to shrmedia.com.
You are listening to shrmedia.com. You are listening, boys and girls. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you have and are listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, the triumphant return, huzzah, huzzah, after the internet has been restored to the SHR Media Studios. And I noticed, by the way, that we do have a new big-ass router over here. And that thing, that is literally almost twice the size of the other one. I just noticed over on my little peripheral vision over here. That's a big-ass router. So all I can say is I hope it's working really, really well. We were talking about mass shootings, what occurred in Texas, and the fact that Ruben Navarrete was talking to Tucker Carlson and said basically all the mass casualty shooters and massacre artists are white men, and they all need to be profiled. Except I've been reading an article from Slate.com indicating that, wait, let's pump the brakes. Do we see some leaks in the hull, perhaps yet? I'm not sure what Kimmel and Leak got their stats about mass murders, the article goes on, perpetrated by teenagers, but that figure, too, wasn't that far off from U.S. demographics. At any rate, it certainly wasn't true, as many argued then and many do today, that mass shooters were almost exclusively or disproportionately or nearly all white. Mass shooters are disproportionately men, however. That is absolutely true. Of course, they're mostly men. Does the city Chicago ring a bell with anybody? Here's another way of looking at it. Instead of asking why so many mass shooters are white, we could ask what it is about mass shootings that differentiates them, even to a small extent, from the broader trend of racial inequalities in murder rates. Why might these huge disparities that we see in homicides, born of systematic disadvantage, well, there's the Slate's leftist bent coming in, they just couldn't avoid it, being diminished, though not reversed in our most extreme episodes of violence. Hey, don't stop there. Keep going. Okay, keep reading, and I shall. All of that is a very long way of saying that data doesn't support the whites are overrepresented among mass shooting memes. On the other hand, they do back up the notion that these killers are primarily always men. I don't disagree with that. In the Mother Jones database, 97% of the listed killers are men. In the one from USA Today, that number is 94%. Guilty, that's me. Okay, I'm amends. And then we have from NewYorkMag.com. This is not known as a right-leaning vessel either. Whiteness doesn't cause mass shootings. Yesterday's horrific massacre in Sutherland Springs, Texas, in which 27-year-old Devin Kelly killed 26 people and injured many others at the town's First Baptist Church, has spurred the tragically familiar call from Americans. No, not Americans specifically. Let's be blunt with that. Jesse, the author, let's be blunt with that. Leftists, Democrats, the American Media Maggots. A particularly familiar call from those people, begging for politicians to take some action. Any action. In response to what feels like an epidemic of mass shootings. Today, many are arguing for enhanced gun control legislation, perhaps legislation which would take into account what appears to be an important connection between domestic violence and these sorts of acts. Stop. Is it not? You're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong here. I know I'm not, which is why I'm saying it. Is it not correct that leftists, Democrats, anarchists, etc., the American media maggots all across the fruited plain of America, all believe in one thing? Government über alles, right? Government. Everything good flows from government. Government does everything right. Wrong. How did this guy get a gun? Oh, that's right. Government. Oh, wait a minute, BZ, that can't be wrong. Government didn't do its job. They gave him a gun. Well, the government on the receiving end of the giving end of these firearms to this guy Kelly, they did their jobs. Who didn't do their jobs? Oh, that's right. It was the U.S. Air Force that didn't input any information about his discharge or the circumstances of his discharge into any database whatsoever. So what do they say in the computer world? G-I-G-O, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. Or if you don't put anything in, you're not going to get anything out. But yet, have to trust that government. And we have to trust that government that's going to vet all the immigrants. But that's another story for another day, is it not? But in a Democracy Now! Segment from earlier today, George Maher, a political science professor at Drexel University, made a different case. He argued that while it's important to examine the policy ramifications of Kelly's murders, including the possibility that targeted gun control for domestic violence offenders or similar policies might prove effective, the bigger conversation should be about the fact that he was white. Evil Caucasoids. Evil religious Caucasoids. Evil Constitution-embracing Caucasoids. But the full damage done by these whiteness violence claims goes deeper. And to explain this, it's important to explain why some people are making these arguments in the first place. When Maher and others posit whiteness as an explanation for violence or other bad behavior on the part of whites, they are, in fact, offering a rejoinder to the pernicious idea that blackness can explain such behavior on the part of blacks. Imagine that. That's Beezy's reversal theory right there. As many scholars have shown, perhaps most comprehensively, the Harvard University professor Khalil Muhammad in his excellent book, The Condemnation of Blackness, Race, Crime, and the Making of Modern Urban America. This idea has a long, ugly history. Thank you very much for making that point. Let's say for a minute, let's say, for example, that this guy is wrong, and mass shooters are, in fact, disproportionately white. If this is reason enough to claim that their race is an important causal factor, then a conservative interlocutor could easily jump in and say, okay, well, then I guess blackness is causing black crime since black people commit violent crimes at higher rates. That's a stat. This is BZ interjecting. That's a stat. That's a fact that you won't even have the leftists or Democrats or the American Media Maggots acknowledging. If you can't even acknowledge that a problem exists, you cannot battle that problem. That's a real discrepancy, after all. It's one that can be explained by socioeconomic factors, perhaps, including institutionalized racism. Okay, there's the left leaning in again. And urban neglect on the part of predominantly white American power structures. Oh, really? Not in Baltimore, not in D.C., etc., but it's easily exploited by racists as proof of the sort of claim spotlighted in Muhammad's book. Or what about Europe? In those European countries that have been hit by recent mass casualty attacks, those attacks have been overwhelmingly committed by Muslims. Does it follow from this that we need to talk about Muslim culture, or that Muslims are essentially violent in a way Christians and Jews are not? Stop. That's the leftist part of him in there. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to give you the real truth about Islam. With luck, Dave Milner is going to listen on Thursday, because I'm going to tell you how Islam really goes. Make sure you listen on Thursday, because this is a pernicious subject right there in and of itself. And that's, again, where the leftism of the New York Mag comes in. So leftist excuses made by leftists, taking into account every leftist meme possible. You have to see beyond that. I'm sure you guys do, which is why you're listening to me right now. Leftists believe there's no such thing. Trust me when I tell you this. Oh, my gosh. And I think you inherently know it anyway. Leftists believe in their little clotted hearts of hearts that there's no such thing as an evil person. There's only a misunderstood person. They could not be more wrong, more ignorant, or naive themselves, having looked evil in the face every damn day, working 41 years as a law enforcement officer. I see it, I know it, I smell it. I know what it looks like, I know what it smells like. I know what it's like to look into a person's empty eyes and see nothing but pure venom. Leftist excuses made by leftists taking into account every leftist meme possible. So look, leftists, I can see you a mile away. So can conservatives. You don't respect the Constitution. the Declaration of Independence, or the Bill of Rights. In your world, everything is gray. Everything is gray. And everything is in flux. I get it. Okay? People of any religious bent are evil, except for Muslims, because you fear them, and you at least recognize that if you go against them, they'll kill your ass. I get your cowardice on that also. I also understand your final play. There's an article I'm going to be penning tonight when I get off work here about this, the final play. And you know what it is. Gun confiscation, outright confiscation. Some leftists are brave enough. There was a guy on Tucker Carlson tonight, and you're going to hear about it tomorrow. There was a guy on Tucker Carlson tonight who was brave enough to actually say that and mean it. He advocates it. You know, I at least admire the honesty and clarity of those leftist souls making that kind of an argument. It's why I actually admired Bernie Sanders, who basically got sodomized by Hillary Clinton. But at least Bernie Sanders will tell you what he is, that he's a socialist all day long. The bottom line is this. We'll go into it more in depth on Thursday. Guess what? Gun confiscation is not going to occur in the United States, with one exception. Unless you want to go back to 1861. I think that's pretty clear. I think that's very clear, as a matter of fact. There's another story. I've got time for just one more story here. Oh, yeah. I got about another 10, 12 minutes. I may be stopping early. I'm not sure yet. I love to play this. And I got taken to task by... I receive more spam. I've received more spam in the past year on my blog. And I don't know if it's because of the radio show. Leftists are listening to the radio show live or in podcast. And then they decide that they're going to take it out on my blog. But my spam has just exploded in the past year with every post. And I'll let some on every once in a while, until they start going so far off the end. And most of the spam consists of F words and S words and you POS and you crap this and blah, 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 blah. Racist, ist. That's no fun. There's no originality there. Come up with an original argument. At least come up with a different word, because I've been insulted as a cop by professionals. And these people are certainly not professionals in any sense of the word. I mean, make something good. Make a really good word. Now, but there was a guy who took me to task and said, "Oh, you should be writing about gun violence, and you should be writing about President Trump and how crazy he is because he's got a dead orange cat on the top of his head. And instead, you're writing about Nancy Pelosi." Well, I do it because A, it's my own damn blog. B, I get to write anything I want. C, hey, why don't you go to why don't you create your own blog or your own little leftist piece in the blogosphere and let me come on and make comments on your blog? But they're mostly not interested in doing that. And I said, with all of these really earthquaking events going on, how could you find the time to post anything about Nancy Pelosi? Apparently he doesn't think that I can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. So I had a post that said, Nancy Pelosi's Marble Loss Part 31. Nancy Pelosi is no longer a California representative. She is now nothing more than a target-rich environment. She is, in fact, for old BZ, a target-rich environment, though she's held California's 12th district since 2013. and she's been the speaker. First aside, imagine, you have to kind of think like leftists. Imagine the chagrin of Nancy Pelosi at never having held a Senate seat in the state of California. How embarrassing must that be? Barbara Boxer, Dianne Feinstein, and even that neophyte Kamala Harris. They hold and held seats she's never acquired. She's had to run every 2 years as opposed to every 6 years for senators. Oh, as Dr. Smith on Lost in Space used to say, oh, the pain, the pain. So I want you to listen very carefully, because, again, people have let her out in public, and when perhaps they really ought not to do this anymore. Listen to the phrasings. Listen to the things she's saying. Listen to the things she's mumbling. And this is a press conference that it was too good for old BZ to pass up.
There you go. Here we are.
Here we are.
It's still morning. Yeah,
it's still morning.
Good morning, everyone. Includes tax incentives for corporations, buffet of tax giveaways. They're just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the suffering under the GOP bill. There has adult son Andrew with microcephaly who relies on Medicaid, and Michael Smith, Nabisco workers. And hearing from our special guest today, we'll lead off with Suzanne Flashman. Thank you, Susan, and you've answered the question, why? Why would they take away this extraordinary medical deduction for extraordinary medical expenses permanently, and at the same time a tax advantage to create jobs overseas? I thank you. I thank Susan Flashman.
Yeah. You know, every Nancy Pelosi press conference is now a dementia-sodden incident rife with mistakes, malaprops, and much worse in public. At least she has a firmer grasp on bubbling mouth foam than does her compatriot in arms, Jerry Brown, governor of California. But on the other hand, that's not saying much. There are so many more articles that I want to go into. I've got about 7 minutes left. I wanted to talk about Donna Brazile and the incredible, horrendous door that she's opened up with the publication of her book and the article that she wrote, initially displayed, I believe, in Politico.com. And some of the things she said about how, this is so weird. Just when people say that you can't trust a damn thing Donald Trump says or tweets, when Donald Trump seems to say or tweet something that on its face to most leftists is really stupid, Donald Trump turns out to be correct. And so it was with the DNC, and Donna Brazile and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Donna Brazile had to walk in and pick up the mess that Debbie Wasserman Schultz had left for the DNC, and thought that things were on a little bit of the up and up, when in fact Hillary Clinton was already running the DNC, and it was already etched in stone that Bernie Sanders was not going to go anywhere. The fix was in. The fix was in with James Comey as well, and the DOJ. Trump had something to say about that too, didn't he? I think he did. But you have to ask yourself, in the Donna Brazile, Hillary Clinton case, Bernie Sanders case, you have to ask yourself one fundamental question. Now, why is it that the Democrats, now I'm not talking about the popular vote, I'm not talking about the massive amounts of people that used to show up at his rallies compared to the stilted Hillary Rodham Clinton. The people that attended Bernie Sanders rallies were listening to a guy that had something very unique to say. Yeah, he was a socialist, but he was on a roll. But again, I say, you have to do the fundamental, you have to pose the fundamental question, which is this. What do we know about Bernie Sanders? We know, A, he's a socialist. We know, B, he hates the corporate world. And C, he hates the influence of lots of money, unless it involves his wife. And then, what is the nectar of politics? Cash. I'll take the cash. Well, it's true with the GOP, and it's true with the Democrats as well, and the DNC. What did Bernie Sanders threaten? If he'd won the primary and went up against Donald Trump, you had in Bernie Sanders a gun, an evil blued firearm pointing back at the head of the DNC. Because Bernie would have done his level best to make sure that big donations didn't occur anymore, and that banks were stepped on, and that corporations were stepped on. And if he'd done that, if he'd been able to do that, what do you think would have happened to all the donations to the DNC? Where do you think the lobbyists would have gone? Where they want influence for their cash. If Bernie Sanders would have gotten in as the Democrat running against Donald Trump, eventually, within a month or two, because you know what kinds of bills and EOs he'd be writing, the spigot for the cash, for the DNC, for the Democrats, and all sorts of elections all across the fruited plain would go off. You know that's exactly what would happen. And that, my friends, is something that could not be allowed to occur. Could it? Of course not. So that's one of the reasons now that they cheated their arses off comes as a shock to the Democrats. And now, isn't it funny? This is unique. I'm going to end up with this because we got to go. Here's the funny thing. Now that she's telling the truth, now that she has a book, Donna Brazile is persona non grata. But she's holding her mud. And she's saying essentially that all these people that are saying that she's not telling the truth, they can go to hell. And guess where her first appearance is going to be since the book? And what she's been saying about the DNC and Hillary Clinton, her first appearance on the news shows, going to be on CNN? Nope. Going to be on MSNBC? Nope. Going to be on CNBC? Nope. Where's it going to be, BZ? It's going to be on Tucker Carlson tomorrow night. I love it. Jesus, you can't write this stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk, Bobcat, Saloon here on the SHR Media Network. You want to contact me? You can find me on Twitter at BZepp, on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net, and you can send me an email, bz@shrmedia.com. My original intro music at the beginning of the show is by Possessed Tranquility. And promotional consideration is by Lockheed Martin Skunk Works and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And tiaras by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 veteran, Kettle One refueling team with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour when I get home. And thank you ever so kindly for listening live. Thank you for being involved in the chat room. Thanks for listening in podcast. Folks, God bless, take care, be safe. Thanks for listening to me. And you can listen to me along with the Sackheads tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Sackheads Radio Show tomorrow night, Wednesday. God bless, take care.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good
night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.